Welcome back, everyone, to our story about Samson, the bonus episode for the Samson story. That's the one. I'm interested because this is, one of the stories that I actually knew, as I had said on the episode before, and we were kind of curious as to why that was. So, Dedeker, you looked that up a little bit, right? Like, why is Samson so important to us as a culture?
Well, so specifically, I was looking up the story of Samson and Delilah because that's the one where that feels an important piece of the story that everyone seems to know, or at least seems to know that is a thing in the Bible, or that is a story. Right. Those are characters. And it is interesting. I'm not I'm researching. I'm not exactly sure why. I haven't found a super compelling reason why. I've found some interesting things. I think part of the reason that Delilah has become important. First of all, she's the only woman in the story of Samson that has a name. Bonus points.
That's
right.
true.
So his first bride,
it's just like his wife.
His first bride never had a name, huh?
Yes, which also means she's one of the few women in the Bible
right. that is named. Wow.
So there's that. And it's interesting the way that Delilah has been kind of this archetype for, first of all, a representative of the fact that, foreign women are dangerous. That's definitely a message that we've seen repeated in the Bible. It's very much about like, don't go marry foreigners, basically. Don't marry non-Jewish women. Don't marry non-Hebrew women.
Even though Moses did it, but that's fine.
Well, that was before he was our dude, and he kind of had no choice. And I mean, he was also raised by Egyptians, so it's a little bit ambiguous. Moses gets a pass.
That's true.
I see.
And maybe God was like, okay, never again after Moses. We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it's like we didn't become xenophobic until later. It's like, because earlier on, all of them were marrying women from other places.
That's
true.
Like
Abraham and all those guys were doing that before. And then we get to Moses, and suddenly it's like, well, okay, now we've got to lock it down.
So the predominant Jewish interpretation is like, this is a story about not marrying women who are not Jewish, who are not in your tribal/ethnic group. The Christian interpretations take it a step further, specifically to be about don't marry or consort with someone outside the faith in general.
I see.
Good old Saint Ambrose declares, quote, "Men should avoid marriage with those outside the faith, lest instead of love of one spouse there be treachery."
Oh boy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's true. Now, something also really interesting, in different Jewish versions of the story, Samson and Delilah actually have kids together.
Huh. Wow.
The next, tiny spoiler alert, the next judge that we're going to talk about is Micah. And there's also some theories that Delilah is actually the mother of Micah, potentially.
Wait, that Wikipedia article lied to me. It said that Samson was the last judge.
Right. Yeah, so I guess
did it
not.
Really? Maybe Micah's not a judge, but maybe I'm confusing it. Just the next person we're going to encounter in the book of Judges, who is a judge or maybe is not a judge, is
just some guy.
Yes.
His name's Micah. Yeah.
So the thing is that Delilah, her name in Hebrew means to dwindle or to weaken, essentially.
Oh, wow.
So that's another thing where her name is associated with what happens in the story. And again, the name Delilah, because of this story, has shown up in so many other pieces of works of art and novels and films to kind of just imply that this character is a treacherous woman who's also sexy at the same time.
Nice.
Yeah, great. But so, and it's like that she's the femme fatale, and so we love it. Is that sort of the answer to why?
That's a good question.
So.
Yeah,
I suppose so. It's like she does incorporate this femme fatale archetype that I suppose is really compelling to us.
Yeah, maybe.
Or it's just really compelling because misogyny. I don't know.
I suppose that unfortunately that's probably part of it too.
Yeah. So I've talked about this Regina Spektor song regarding Samson.
Yeah, I remember you used to sing it a lot at karaoke. Is it still one of your go-tos these days?
I don't actually think I've ever sung it at karaoke, Jase. I just sang it in that video that you made for me, remember?
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I got it confused then.
No, you're fine, yeah. But after reading this story, I'm like, wow, these lyrics like are just dead wrong in so many ways.
What do we got? It's been a while since I've looked at it.
Okay, well, I'll talk about, let's say, so yeah, they're saying like, you're my sweetest downfall. I loved you first. Your hair was long when we first met. And then it says that Samson came to my bed and told me that my hair was red. And she says that I cut his hair myself one night, a pair of dull scissors in the yellow light. And he told me that I'd done all right. And he kissed me till the morning light. And then it says that we couldn't bring the columns down. We couldn't destroy a single one. And the history books forgot about us. And the Bible didn't mention us, not even once, which is wrong. Yes, it did.
Well, okay. So, I mean, that implies to me that it's the speaker is in a relationship is in a relationship that reminds her of Samson and Delilah, except it doesn't turn out with the same ending. At least that's the kind of poetic interpretation I'm getting. What do you think, Jase?
Yeah, so the thing I always thought was interesting about that song, and it's very beautiful. If you're listening at home,
it's
like go check it out. Yeah, it's quite nice. That it's like the way I interpreted it before is that it's from the point of view of Delilah singing it and kind of giving her take on the story that went a different way, that was actually a very beautiful and romantic story, but that then kind of was forgotten by time and replaced by something else. Now that I've read the story and then I'm hearing these lyrics again, I'm like, I don't know if that interpretation actually holds up anymore. And maybe it is more like Dedeker said, where it's more like we had a similar story, but that wasn't terrible, but they didn't write about us.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Well, so songfacts.com says, this song is about love and told through the biblical story of Samson and Delilah found in Judges 16. Samson had tremendous strength, but he lost it when Delilah had his head shaved. It shows the unconditional forgiveness you have for someone you love.
Okay, hold on, Emily, because
I'm like, what?
Jase and I have perused song facts before, and we have found that their definition of the word facts is a little bit iffy. I don't remember what song we were looking up, Jase, but it was some song where like one of the facts listed was like, I listen to this all the time in college and it reminds me of my college boyfriend.
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay, a fact for you, I guess, but
I mean, that is a fact, I guess. You can't dispute that.
It's probably a fact about your feelings, but I don't know if that's a fact about like the origin of the song. So I would take all that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, there's the schmoop.com talks about the sweetest downfall lyric. It's an intriguing paradox, self-contradictory, since people don't usually think of downfalls as sweet. Regina sets up an ironic / bittersweet tone for the song right from the start, because that's like the first lyric in the song.
Well, and she also sets up that the person she's singing to, that Samson like is her sweetest downfall, as opposed to the way we were told the story, which is the other way around, that she was the downfall of Samson.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it from the perspective of, history has put her in this light, then I mean, he was her downfall because he's the one who's like the victim in this scenario, I guess.
Right.
So
yeah.
Huh. Well, there it is.
So actually, after we were recording this episode, I thought of another song that, at least to me, has always had an allusion to the Samson story, and that's Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley.
Oh, yes,
love
you're right.
that song.
Right?
You're right.
It's your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you, which we know that story to be about, who was it, King David?
That's David and Bathsheba, which we've not gotten to yet. We will get there.
Right. We've talked about it before, but we haven't actually read it yet.
No, we haven't gotten there.
I had no idea what that was.
Spoilers.
You know what? Actually, technically, Emily, I think we told you that story on our other podcast.
We did,
years ago.
Yeah. Okay. I can't be held accountable for something that you talked to me about years ago, like in passing in a podcast.
Okay.
That's fair.
But then it goes on to say, she tied you to her kitchen chair, she broke your throne, and she cut your hair. And from your lips, she drew the hallelujah. Yeah. Which then to me is like we've switched into the Samson story about her cutting his hair, and then from your lips, she drew the hallelujah, which I guess
the tying part up too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. That she ties him up, cuts his hair, and that From Your Lips She Drew the Hallelujah is like about how at the end he like finally gives this prayer to Yahweh or whatever to get the strength to kill everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was just thinking about that after we recorded. I was like, oh yeah, there's another song
that's great.
At least I've always thought of being related. So the last thing that I wanted to share with you, we talked about this a little bit, but it's the Samson and Delilah movie from 1949 by Cecil B. DeMille.
And yeah, we know Cecil B. DeMille because he was the one who made the Ten Commandments, the classic Charlton Heston version. Now, my question, I've not seen this film, but I'm like, can we make an entire film out of this? This was
right?
like,
I know, seriously.
a chapter in the Bible, and I mean, pretty straightforward action, like, so that's my question is like, wow, how do we make a whole film out of this?
Well, let me tell you. I'm gonna kind of give you the like Cliff Notes version of this movie.
Okay.
Here's how it goes. We open up on Samson, who I remembered as being blonde, but he's not. He has dark brown hair.
Oh.
And he's hanging out, being a sexy but strong playboy type gentleman. And he's got the hots for and like a mutual flirtation with this Philistine woman, but in this movie it's pronounced Philistine.
Whoa.
Philistine. And so anyway, he's got the hots for this woman, but there's a Philistine soldier boy who she's kind of like set to be with. But then meanwhile, there's this thing of Samson kind of getting to know her sister.
The sister?
Yeah, I think at the film, the story is that Delilah turns out to be the sister of his first, like, Philistine wife.
What?
I think that's how they kind of retconned it or rewrote it to add more drama, I suppose.
That didn't happen.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, like, so the soldier and some other people are all going out lion hunting for fun. And then Delilah is like, hey, Samson, I think you're cool. I'll help you get to the lion hunt so that you can kill the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, like, they ride out on her chariot because I guess he didn't have one, but she did. So, like, they borrow her car, go out, and then he weirdly, slow motion-ish, kind of fights with this lion and eventually, I guess, chokes it to death and it dies. But, like, she sees it, and then all the soldiers come up. So it's not like this thing that he did in secret, like we kind of had the impression, but Delilah's there, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love you so much, I love you," and like wants to be with him. But Samson's not into it. He's like, "Oh, whatever, you silly girl."
Okay.
All right. And then we're at his wedding, and we have the whole thing with the bet with the riddle, which also makes no sense. And also, unless I like fell asleep briefly during this part, I don't remember the honey coming out of the lion at all. So, like, the riddle has no context for the viewer at all watching the movie. It's super weird. But anyway, same thing. They convince the Philistine wife to tell them the answer to it. But what's weird here is that Delilah is actually the one kind of convincing them because she knows it's going to break up him and his wife if she ends up, like, betraying him to these guys. So then they get the answer to the riddle, and Samson, super pissed off and looks at his wife, and he just like storms out, just walks out. And then a little while later, comes back and throws all the coats at everyone. It just like starts throwing coats angrily at everyone.
Okay.
Oh, maybe they assumed he was a normal human being and was like, dang it, I have to go buy 30 coats. That sucks. I guess I better go on down to the Target. Maybe they'll have a deal on coats or something. But that sucks. I have to buy 30 coats instead of defaulting to, well, gotta go kill 30 dudes.
Yeah, so the way they play it in this movie is that there's a scene of all of these guys in a nearby town who are like just in their underwear, and all the soldiers are like, what's going on? They're like, someone came and robbed us and he took my cloak and he took mine too.
Whoa.
And so like not went and stole their cloaks from their tents, but just literally took them off of their bodies. And everyone's all pissed about this and they're all upset. And of course, just like in the story we read, they end up taking that out on his Philistine wife and her family by burning their house and killing them all.
Wow.
But then this part is another difference, and I actually kind of like their version. And basically in this, it's that right? The whole family gets killed, and I guess this is Delilah's family.
Of course.
So she's super upset about it and like swears vengeance on Samson for causing this to happen to her family. So then later her like seducing him and tricking him and tying him up and all this stuff, like her character's actually motivated now, which I actually thought was pretty cool. And then the thing happens where she cuts off his hair and he gets weak and they stab out his eyes.
Jeez.
And then a lot, like the last, what is this? Maybe 30 to 40 minutes of the movie is him without eyes.
What?
Yeah, like bemoaning his fate and being like tortured and being miserable and stuff. I guess because we have to develop a lot of sympathy for him and a lot of hate for the people he's going to kill, so that by the end of the movie, when they like bring him out like a bear on a rope, you know, and everyone's like laughing at him and cheering and stuff, and then he knocks down the pillars and everyone, you know, the Colosseum like falls on everyone, then we don't feel bad about it because we've seen how bad he's been treated for the past like half hour. I guess is kind of how they
Which is funny because it's like, no, this guy's the asshole, but okay.
Right. So it is like if you extend certain parts of the story and kind of diminish or just delete others, it's like, oh, now you have a likable Samson.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun film. We'll have to watch the whole thing at some point.
I know. We should have a movie night. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Let us know out there, all y'all out there, what you thought of the Samson movie if you've seen it. And on our Drunk Bible Study Fans and Fellowship, I'd be really interested to hear why people think that this story is so prolific and why everybody knows the Samson and Delilah story.
Yeah.
So we will talk to you all around the Drunk Bible Fans and Fellow Study
You want to try that again?
Fans and Fellow Study? I like that. That's good.
Fans and we'll see everyone around the Drunk Bible.
You just missed a word. Drunk Bible Study Fans and Fellowship.
Yeah, Drunk Bible Study Fans and Fellowship group.
Yeah.
And we will see you next week on the show.